The Soft Skill channel is back from the summer break with new topics and a bit of new technology. This and more in the new channel update. Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and I welcome you to the channel update August. Summer break is over. We start into the second half of the year, of course, with exciting topics. Next week we will talk about indoor climate, which is a topic that has pretty much imposed itself on us during the last couple of weeks because it was pretty hot during summer and climate was something we had to deal with in our day-to-day proceedings a lot. But indoor climate is also quite an interesting and relevant topic because it is one of those topics that are actually very important for our well-being and productivity, but that are often overlooked and neglected in day-to-day life. So we will have a good look at that. After that, we will have another soft skill talk, and this time it's about fake productivity. A while back I had the idea and noted it down to talk about the issue that presence is often valued higher than actual productivity. And I had written that down, and over time I realized there are plenty more examples for similar issues, similar situations, and I collected a couple and I thought, well, this would be a nice, fun and interesting topic for a soft skill talk, so we will discuss it. And of course, there also will be a book review. And this time we will talk about Nudge by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. This book will be in good company on this channel because we already discussed Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow and Nassim Taleb's Black Swan. So we are again dealing with the topic of biases and fallacies, but Nudge only touches that topic. It has a bit of a special direction because a nudge is a metaphorical nudge in the right direction. For example, if there are frightening pictures on cigarette packages to discourage people from smoking, or if there is a picture of a fly in a urinal so people aim better, or if there is a deliberately chosen default setting because people tend to be lazy and just stick with the default, all of those are examples for nudges. And it is quite an interesting topic. We will explore it in more detail when we review the book. By the way, we will discuss the final version, which is quite new from 2021, from last year. The actual book, the first edition, is already a couple of years old, 2006, I think, I'm not sure, but we will discuss the most recent final edition. Well, we are back from summer break, and I have to say summer break turned out quite nicely. It pretty much was what we hoped for it to be. First of all, it really allowed us to catch up in our video production. As you know, we always pre-produce a few videos, and we really had fallen behind on that before the summer break, and things had become rather tight and a bit stressful, and here we were really able to catch up, to get a small lead again, and also to do some planning for the second half of the year, to really lay a solid groundwork for the second half of the year. So things worked out nicely there. For example, I also got a few books when the summer break started. I got Nudge, which I already mentioned. This will be the next book review. And I also got Flow by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, quite interesting book, which I had read a couple of years ago, and I know I wanted to pick it up again. to do a video about the phenomenon of flow, and I have this one, a German title. It is there is an English version. It is called Anxiety, if I remember correctly, by one Fritz Riemann, German psychologist. This one is related over some steps to Schulz von Thun, because Schulz von Thun's box of tools contains the so-called Riemann-Thomann model, which was created by Christoph Thomann, a student of Schulz von Thun, who created a method for resolving conflicts. And Christoph Thomann based his model on the work by this Fritz Riemann and on this book. And in order to do a video about the Riemann-Thomann model, I wanted to have a look at this underlying work first. And finally, I got the original mind map book by their creator, Tony Buzan. Mind maps are quite a nice and useful tool. You can use them for learning, for making notes, for self-management, and they have many other areas of application, quite useful. So I want to do videos about them as well. And this book by the original creator is, of course, a very nice start. So I will have a look at that as well. I already finished Nudge and Flow, and I have recently started Anxiety. So I'm also on a good way there, and it is quite nice to have a bit of room, a bit of air, and not be so hard pressed in regard to time. For example, when I read Flow, as I said, I've already read it, or more precisely, I listened to it as an audiobook a couple of years ago, and when I read this newer edition, I noticed some differences, so I wanted to go back and listen to the audiobook again, which I did. And before the summer break, I wouldn't have had a chance to do that, because I wasn't on a tight schedule. Script has to be finished until Saturday and so on. And it was very nice to be able to do this bit of additional research. So really very nice. And as you probably noticed, we upgraded our technology a bit, which I will say a bit more about in a moment. And finally, summer break really was very nice as a means of some relaxation and recreation, to just have a small break. Now, obviously, we enjoy running the channel and recording the videos, and it is a lot of fun, but it is also nice to have an entirely free Saturday for a change, and to have a break here and there. And since it is summer now, was summer the last couple of weeks, it is very nice not to have to do a recording each Saturday, regardless of the weather, regardless of the temperature, but to be able to pick those Saturdays where the temperature is a bit milder and the conditions are nicer. So it was really very nice to have this summer break. And I've noticed that the channel survived the summer break very well, which is great, of course. Now, the views have clearly decreased during summer, but this is an effect we already noticed last year, and this should be pretty much common sense, because during summer people are on vacation, people are outside more, watch less YouTube, so views decrease, and they didn't decrease that much more this year due to the couple of weeks without a new video. So this turned out well, and also subscribers have not jumped ship in large numbers, have not unsubscribed a lot. Thanks a lot for that. Thanks for sticking with us. The channel has steadily, slowly grown, again slower than usual, but that is to be expected in summer. So the channel survived summer break pretty well. So bottom line is it turned out quite nicely, and we will probably continue with this approach next year. We will make our final decision probably during the turn of the year, but so far it looks so far we are quite pleased with how the summer break worked out. And as I said, summer break has given us the opportunity to finally perform a small upgrade for our technical setup. First of all, as you've probably noticed, we have a new camera, a better camera. Now, it wasn't a huge step. It is still a webcam, but it is a newer and a better model. And I think it has increased our visual quality noticeably. First of all, we now have a better, sharper picture. Then colors are much more distinct, and finally motion movement is now much smoother, much more fluent. We now have 60 FPS instead of 30, which means that more images are displayed in 1 second, which makes for smoother movement. Now, for me, it was most important to have the higher sharpness, especially in regard to the book covers, because as you know, I've recently started using this small plastic stand to put up the book I talk about in a book review. And this is where you really noticed the lack of sharpness for the old camera, because with the old camera you could make out the title, but it was really difficult to see the author or any other text on the cover. And this has improved a lot with the new camera. You can see the details much better. So this was quite important for me. The improvement in regard to the colors was a nice surprise. We didn't really expect that, but I think it makes a big difference. You finally see that my shirt is actually gray, not beige. You see that my face has a different color than the background, a different color than the table. So colors are much more distinct, more natural, which is very, very nice. And it even gives us the opportunity to have some more variety in regard to the clothing. A while ago we experimented with different shirts, different shirt colors to make myself stand out more, have more contrast against the background, but those recordings didn't turn out well. It didn't look good with the old camera, but we tried again with a new one, and here it looks really good. We get great image quality and great overall look, so we will have some more variety. The next two videos, Indoor Climate and the Soft Skill Talk, will still have this gray shirt you are accustomed to, but starting with Nudge we will have some more variety, which I think is very nice. So overall image quality has improved a lot. This is what the image looked like with the old camera, and this is what it looks like now, and I think it is quite a noticeable difference. And you might have already noticed another change. The microphone is not on the usual stand anymore, but it uses this interesting contraption instead. Now, the point here is to detach the microphone from all solid bodies, because solid bodies transfer sound very well, as you probably know, which is the reason why people who try to spy on someone in a room will put their ear to the door to hear better. And for us, this has always been quite a negative effect, because if I touch the table or put something on the table, or if I accidentally touch the table with my foot under under the table, then the sound will transfer through the table, through the microphone stand, will be picked up by the microphone as some erroneous sound, like so it will sound really, really bad. And now the microphone is positioned on a small disc that is connected to an outer ring using an elastic band. And this way sound cannot travel through solid bodies into the microphone. So now I can tap the table and everything, and you will just hear the usual natural sound and not this erroneous sound, which is a very nice, small but very nice improvement. Well, we are looking forward to actively continuing the channel again. Thanks a lot to all of you for sticking with us to the summer break. I hope you will enjoy the new videos. There are still plenty of exciting topics to discover, fascinating books to read, interesting questions to discuss, and much more. We will see each other again next week. For today, I'll take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.